And remember, you have things that are prime numbers like 1, 2, 7, 29, 31. Other words, no numbers multiply together to make that. There are no other factors. Yes. And then for composites, composites are numbers like 9, 24, 35, 45, anything that just multiplies together that could make it. And these numbers do have factors. And then, I know you guys know this, but the reason why we're talking about this is starting in this unit, your guys are going to start solving stuff that might be prime and might have complex numbers.
Wait, can you explain again what a composite is?
A composite are numbers that have factors that can multiply to make it other than 1 in itself. Like we can do 3 times 3, 2 times 12, 8 times 3, 6 times 4, that kind of stuff. But what I also wanted to show you guys is polynomials can be prime or composite also. So if you guys look at this, I wrote this in the prime category because it's impossible to factor it. There is no numbers in the universe that could combine to make a positive 5. -7, the only numbers that make -7 are 1 and 7. And there's no way you can combine those to make a positive 5. However, this is certainly factorable, so it's on the composite side. You guys can factor that to a +7 and a -1, because a +7 times a -1 makes -7. +7 plus a -1 is going to combine to make a +6. So, the reason why we are doing this is because later on, you guys are going to start solving stuff that looks like this, where there's multiple zeros, multiple answers. And one of the steps to process this is to divide. And the reason why we divide, we're just looking for factors. It is all about factors, guys. So let me zoom in to make sure that you see the exponents clearly. If you could please write this, let me give you just a moment. I'm going to check roll. So guys, the way that you do long division with polynomials, it is all about that term right there. That is the driver of the whole entire problem. It is all about that term. So basically what we need to do is we need to make this x look like this first term right here. So we have to multiply something by the x to make it 4x to the 3rd power. That's why I tested you guys yesterday on multiplying, adding, and subtracting. You can't do this unless you know that. So this is an x. I need 2 more x's, so I know that I'm going to be multiplying it by something times x to the 2nd power. This is a 4. It's a coefficient of 1, so we're going to multiply it by a 4x squared. So I'm going to take this x, and I'm going to multiply it by 4x squared, and that's going to turn it into that number. That's exactly what I need. Notice that I put 4x squared right above the 3x squared. All of your exponents need to be in a column. They all need to be organized. That's why we're using graph paper. So I'm going to take this 4x squared, and I'm going to multiply it by x. It's going to turn into 4x to the 3rd power, which is exactly what we wanted. They need to match, same sign and everything. Then we're going to take 4x squared and multiply it by 2. 4x squared multiplied by 2 is just 8x squared. You've got to put it right underneath the exponents that have x squared. So if you notice, everything is lined up. And then, just like regular long division, once you multiply, you subtract. So I asked you to get a red pen because what I'm asking you guys to do is to subtract with your red pen. Please show it like that so it stands out. And remember, when you subtract polynomials, what you're really doing is distributing the negative. Guys, just change the signs of those in there. They're both positive right now. Make them both negative. After you have made both of those terms negative, just combine straight down. So these two are going to cancel out, which is exactly what we wanted. We always want the first terms to cancel out. They do. So here, this is just a 3 minus 8, and 3 minus 8 is negative 5. So I'm just going to write negative 5x squared. And then, just like second grade long division, you bring down the next piece. And the next piece is a positive 2x, so I'm going to write plus 2x. And start all over. Remember, that's the whole driver of the problem. Now, I need x to look exactly like that. Oh, by the way, this is negative. Make sure you have your negative because it was a positive 3 minus 8. Since we need to look exactly like a negative 5x squared, we will multiply this by a negative 5x. Negative 5x times that is going to make that. So I'm going to write minus 5x in the same column as my x's to the first power. Then I'm going to distribute. Negative 5x times x is negative 5x squared. Distribute to the other term, to the positive 2. Negative 5x times 2 is negative 10x. Once you distribute, grab your red pen and subtract. Now remember, when you subtract in Algebra 2, all you're going to do, guys, is change those signs. So make this 5x a positive. Also make that 10x a positive. The signs just change. Let's combine straight down. When we combine straight down, these terms are going to cancel out, which is always the case. This is a positive 2x and a positive 10x, so this is going to turn into a positive 12x. And we're almost done dividing. I have one more to bring down. So write plus 1 right next to it. We're going to start the process all over again and then be done with this example. So go back to the driver of the problem, x. What would you multiply x to make it look like a 12x? Just a 12, just a 12. Just write plus 12 above your regular number. Keep everything organized. And I'll show you why in a minute. This is level 1. Let's distribute. So 12 divided by x, 12 times x is 12x, which is exactly what we wanted. And then 12 times 2 is a 24 with a plus sign for now. Once you multiply, just like regular long division, you subtract. So grab your red pen, draw a minus with parentheses, then go change the signs. Always use a red pen, just make it a routine. Change the signs, and then combine straight down. So when you combine straight down, that's a zero pair. A positive 12 and a negative 12 cancel out. And guys, we're going to have a remainder. A positive 1 and a negative 24 is a negative 23. So write negative 23. And then you have to write your remainders in a weird way for polynomials. Once you get a remainder, you got to go put it as a fraction at the top. So I'm going to write a plus sign. I'm going to draw a fraction bar. Always the same thing, guys. The remainder goes on top. The binomial goes underneath. So it's just negative 23 on top, and then just write x plus 2 underneath. And that is the quotient to that problem. So this is negative x squared plus 4x to the third plus 6. And it's divided by 2x squared plus 3. Y'all, I'm going to try to trick you. I'm forced to trick you. There's 2 tricks that I'm going to try to play on you. Trick number 1 is I'm going to write it out of order. Y'all, what's the highest exponent on top? Yeah, that has to be first. So I'm going to try to trick you sometimes and write it out of order. Make sure it's written in order from highest to lowest. So write written from highest to lowest, from high to low. And then trick number 2, I'm going to have missing degrees. So please write all degrees must be written. All right. Look at the top, guys. There's 2 things wrong with it that you have to have. First of all, it's written out of order. Don't fall for that. Number 2, I have to have all degrees represented. He was right. The highest degree is a 3. 3 has to come first. What's 3 minus 1? 2. Do you have x squared? You do. What's 2 minus 1? 1. Do you guys have a regular x up here? You're going to have a placeholder. So the placeholder, write PH for placeholder. The placeholder is the missing degree. The missing degree, you don't have a plain x up here. So you have to have a placeholder where it doesn't change the value. Write 0x because that's the degree that's missing. Highlight it. You're going to highlight a lot of stuff on this problem. Play the game, highlight it, get it right. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw the division box. I'm going to start way over here. I'm going to need a lot of room. Remember, the bottom goes outside the division box. What's on top goes inside. But I'm writing my division box long because I have some missing degrees. All right, first of all, the highest degree goes first. So all of us are going to write 4x to the third first. The degree after a 3 is a 2. We have a degree of 2. It's right here. So write minus 6x squared. And then you have to write your linear term, regular x. You don't have one. You have to write the placeholder. So write plus 0x. Take the lid off your highlighter and highlight it. That's the most missed careless mistake on this. Play the game and highlight it. All right. 3, 2, 1, none. Which number doesn't have an x? Just a 6. So write plus 6 right there. And now we're ready to roll. It is very important that you keep all of your degrees lined up. All of my cubic terms are going to be first. All of my quadratic terms are going to be the middle column. All of my linear terms are going to be in the column with that placeholder. And all of my constants are going to be the last column. Also remember, this term is still the driver. So all I need is 2x squared to look like this front piece, 4x to the third. So I know that I need to multiply it by an x, so it'll have enough x's. I also need to multiply it by a 2, because 2 times 2 is going to make a 4. So we're going to take 2x squared plus 3, and we're going to multiply it by 2x. Because when we distribute that, we are going to get exactly what we need, which is the front piece right here. So since we're multiplying this by a 2x, we're going to keep things lined up. Whatever you multiply by needs to be in the same column. And remember, 2x times this gave us this right here. So keep your things lined up. Recopy 4x to the third right underneath the front piece. And then y'all need to have a gap in your work. And then you need to write 6x underneath your linear term. This gap right here, guys, needs a placeholder. So please write 0x squared.
I'm confused because you did the 2x times the 2x squared plus 3. But that gave plus 6x, not minus 6x squared. So why would you?
Because I don't care. I only care about the front. I only care about the front. The rest of the numbers don't matter at all. The rest of the numbers don't matter at all, just the front. Subtract. So when we subtract, y'all just change the signs in the parentheses. If you draw your word just like mine, all you got to do is change the signs in the parentheses. So this becomes a negative. The placeholder becomes a negative. It doesn't matter because it's a placeholder. The 6x becomes negative. So everything became negative, combined straight down. If your front pieces cancel out, which they do, you know you're doing it right. So a negative 6x squared minus 0x squared is just negative 6x squared. And then we are going to have 0x minus 6x, so write minus 6x. And then we're done subtracting, so you still have to bring down the last term. So write plus 6. And again, we don't care what the rest of the numbers are. We only care about the numbers in front. So this time, I need 2x squared to look like the front of this line of my word, just a negative 6x squared. So all I have to do is multiply by a negative 3. A negative 3 times a positive 2 is going to give me a negative 6x. So when you distribute this, you're going to get negative 6x squared. And then remember that negative 3 times positive 3 is a negative 9.
Wait, why did you multiply by negative 3?
Because we want it to match the front piece exactly.
Oh, right.
Just the front. We only care about the front. The back is messy. That's okay, as long as the front terms cancel out. So I'm going to write a negative 3 up here at the top. Now I'm going to distribute. Negative 3 times positive 2x squared is negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times a positive 3 is negative 9. So you have to make sure that you leave space and write it correctly. Everything has to line up. You guys have to add a placeholder here. Highlight it. Yep. Grab your red pen. Change the signs. Combine straight down. Do the front pieces cancel out? Yeah, we're good. So a negative 6x minus 0x is negative 6x. A positive 6, and remember that 9 turned positive. So a positive 6 and a positive 9 is just a positive 15.
So that's on remainder?
That's it. That's going to go on the top of your fraction bar after you write your plus sign. So write negative 6x plus 15, and then don't forget the denominator. You just recopy what's in front of the division box. So we have 6x to the fourth plus 5x to the third plus 2x plus 8 being divided by that trinomial. We know we're going to have a placeholder of 0x squared. So I'm going to draw my, or I'm going to write my trinomial over here on the far left. I'm going to draw a very long fraction or a very long division box. And remember, it's going to be in descending order, but I can't forget my placeholder. So it's going to be 6x to the fourth plus 5x to the third plus your placeholder of 0x squared plus 2x plus 8. And now we're ready to divide. So again, I just care about the front. I just want x squared to look like 6x to the fourth. The rest doesn't matter. So the only way that x squared is going to look like 6x to the fourth is if we multiply it by 6x to the second. So if you write 6x squared above your placeholder, we are now going to distribute 3 times. So 6x squared times x squared is exactly what we wanted, 6x to the fourth. 6x squared times 2x, 6 times 2 is 12, and then you just add the x's. So 6x squared times 2x is going to be plus 12x to the third. And then 6x squared times a negative 5 is a negative 30x squared. Drop, pick up the red, change the signs. It's always the same. So change all the signs to the opposite. Combine straight down. The front terms cancel out. Perfect. 5 minus 12. 5 minus 12 is negative 7. So this is negative 7x to the third. 0 plus 30x is just 30x squared. And then you guys got to bring down positive 2x. Drop, red, change signs. All right, so this becomes positive. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't distribute yet, did I? I got ahead of myself. I got to make x squared turn into a negative 7x to the third. That is going to be multiplied by a negative 7x. So we're going to distribute this 3 times. Negative 7x times x squared is negative 7x to the third. Negative 7x times a positive 2 is negative 14x squared. Negative 7x times a negative 5 is a positive 35x. Now we change our signs when we draw our parentheses on the correct line, which is right here. So all of our signs are going to change. This becomes positive. This becomes positive. That 35 is now negative. When you combine straight down, your front terms go away. Y'all, you add those. That's going to be 44x squared. And then remember that 35 is negative now, so that's going to be negative 33x. We're almost done. All we got to do is bring down the 8 and divide one more time. So write plus 8. And then how does x squared turn into 44x squared? You multiply by a 44. And we are going to distribute. So 44 times x squared is 44x squared. 44 times 2, that's going to be an 88. And then your last one, 44 times a negative 5, y'all, that's a negative 220. Pick up your red, change the signs. And we're going to get a remainder here. So when we combine straight down, guys, your front terms go away. Y'all, a negative 33 and a negative 88 is a negative 121x. A positive 8 and a positive 220 is a positive 220. And that's your remainder. All you got to do is put that in fractional form.
Wait, how's it positive 220?
Because when you change the sign, when you distribute the negative,
Wouldn't it be 8 plus 220?
oh, thank you. Yeah, you're right. It's 228. Thank you. So, write negative 121x plus 228 all over that trinomial of x squared plus 2x minus 5.